So today we're having a mentoring session for young leaders organised by Patchwork. I'm going to share with the young leaders who come along today the benefit of my experience negotiating the UK governing coalition, the issues that have arisen from it, and then we'll have an open discussion about how that experience is of relevance to other people around the table, how they can perhaps use that experience, and also what I can learn from them. So I suspect to a lot of people watching, the prospect of a coalition government or of negotiations between parties to form a government was a bit of a surprise. You know, we haven't had coalition governments in peacetime in this country for very many years. Clearly, having a number of MPs that between the two parties gives a majority in Parliament is a crucial part of having a combination that can work effectively in the UK political system. Any one of the sort of tests of any arrangement would be that it was sufficiently stable and strong to deliver the painful and difficult choices that any government would have had to take. And part of that was about considering the political appetite for those arrangements. Part of it was about looking at what were the policy propositions that the different parties were putting forward and looking at areas of overlap and similarity.
This really, shed some light on who was there, what was said, the top policies discussed, top priorities, so that was the highlight for me.
It was good to see the ideas of a group, young people coming from different backgrounds, see how they kind of saw the negotiations going on at the coalition as well.
From a Liberal Democrat point of view, I'd say that our strengths were having prepared in advance, having a very clear idea of what our main priorities were. Cutting income tax for working people, a pupil premium in our school system to try and advance the education of children from disadvantaged backgrounds, a greener economy and political reform. We had a very clear sense of what our priorities were. We felt that we had to make progress on all four of those things, given that they were our four key asks, otherwise it wouldn't be possible to go forward. Both negotiating teams went into this from the very beginning with a very good attitude, that we were working positively to achieve as much as we could.
It's important that we get a more diverse mix of people involved and interested in politics, and I think some of the stuff that Danny was able to talk about will hopefully give people a real interest in that. It's really, really important for us as a party that diversity and pride in the diversity of the UK is part of our DNA. It's really important that leaders and future leaders of this country and all the communities of this country feel part of the political process and can have a chance to talk to key political leaders and really be part of that conversation.
I was happy that Danny didn't shy away from answering some of the questions. I think he gave tangible answers to the questions that the young people were asking of him, and he didn't really shy away from it.
How do you actually address the disagreements and do you come to some kind of compromise? What are the activities you take or the steps you take?
In our negotiations, we had to identify between us what were the big issues that could get in the way of forming a successful partnership. And political reform was at the centre of that. It was clear that it was an area where Lib Dems for 100 years have advocated reform and Conservatives for the same period of time have advocated no change. And under those circumstances, we were clear with them that without a serious package of political reform, we simply couldn't reach an accommodation. But they were equally clear with us about what a serious hurdle that was for their own people to get over. We didn't leave it to one side and say, well, we'll sort that out later. We faced up to the fact that it was a big difference between us.
Were there any kind of conversations between parties that obviously wouldn't have been publicised at the time to prepare for such an eventuality? And leading up to 2015, if you didn't before, is that something that you would consider?
The answer is no, we didn't have conversations with other parties about trying to pre-negotiate different things, and we won't do that this time, because in the end, the choice here has to be in the hands of the British people. Each party has to present its own ideas and own views to the British people in the general election, and then we'll have a result, and people will vote for who they want to vote for, they'll elect who they want to elect, and if we have another hung parliament in future, which we may do, then just like this time round, it will be the responsibility of those elected to work together to try and deliver a government that the British people have chosen.
It humanises politicians for me. They're always seen as unapproachable. So this was just a fantastic opportunity to speak to him on a one-to-one basis and see what his personal opinions are.
We need to make sure that the next generation of people who are going to be taking decisions in our society, in politics, in government and in many other walks of life, have the knowledge, the skills, the experience to take that forward, and particularly here where we need to strengthen the representation of black and minority ethnic groups in our democracy. I would really urge other colleagues to get involved in these sorts of events because it is such a good opportunity to listen to people and to share your own ideas and experiences.